Doing good, yeah. Oh, she's back. No, she's gone.
Oh,
Oh, we're live. Oh, boy.
doesn't everybody want to know what we're laughing
And
about?
we're now live.
Well, we certainly do have a good time, whether we're on live or not.
Indeed.
So, hi, welcome to Let's Talk About Dating on Going Solo Media. Hi, Barry. It's so nice to see you.
Hi, Christine. It's good to be back having fun again, as usual.
Always fun. So, I'm Christine with The Perfect Catch, and this is Barry Selby, and,
Hi.
and we're dating and relationship coach. And today,
Oh, you froze for a second. What's going on there?
so I don't know, like we left for a second.
Okay, now you're back.
Maybe we were laughing too much.
Yeah.
We're having So today we're talking about something that is very near and dear to both of our coaching hearts. How do we increase our self-confidence, period, in our life? And especially when it comes to dating. Because I've learned personally, and certainly through my clients, as I imagine you have, that self-confidence is very high on the sexy scale. I mean, you feel more sexy, people perceive you as more sexy, more desirable, more affable, more attractive. Even when you're having a bad day, if you have a basis of that you still think you're good enough, smart enough, your body's enough, whatever it is, it's enough. You have an aura about you. You just do. You have an awareness that you can feel and that you seem to project out into the world.
Right. And counterpoint to that is also a lot of my clients, when they come to me, they come with a lot of wounding, and as you do too, as you know, with your clients too. So the thing is, their vision of self-confidence is so far out of reach. It's almost like, how do they get there? So I think what we talk about today is how we get from that place of woundedness, or in the process of recovering from heartbreak, how do you get to restore your self-confidence? Which is different, by the way, from arrogance, because arrogance is a whole different animal, which many people put on, but it is a put on, not self-confidence, because self-confidence for me comes from inside out, whereas arrogance is more like a shell, so it's different.
Yes, and a shell is very difficult to give out any kind of feelings and to get in kind of feelings.
Right.
And also something I wrote in my notes for today was, what is a realistic goal? Because you mentioned goal, which is what perked my brain again. What's a realistic goal for self-confidence, for self-awareness, feeling good about yourself? Because as you said, sometimes our goal is unattainable, too lofty, out of reach, which then of course we're just going to feel discouraged from the get-go because we can't reach this really unattainable goal.
Right. And I think definitely we want to make sure I say this, having that goal will be a step-by-step process versus like, here's the goal again, like the thing from being here to up there. Let's see if we can make it available to people, is what I guess I'm trying to say.
What are some small incremental steps that that are attainable? And then what I find like rewards are really important to me, so that you can this small step. Look what I did. Wow, I accomplished that. I do feel the difference, because that's a good incentive to want to do the next. It's worth the work. It's worth the effort. It's worth the self-discovery. It's worth whatever it is you have to spend time and energy or money on, because it felt better. You felt an improvement.
It's one of those things, actually, this is kind of actually a Pavlovian thing in a way. It's like having a reward for each step. So we can make that definitely something we do for ourselves. And that's the thing. We in my work, especially my clients, I teach them, like, when you take a step that you have a win on, celebrate the win, have a reward, have an accomplishment, because you've done that. Don't rest on your laurels, but you go, you did okay, great win, let's go to the next one. Because then it's almost an incentivization and also an encouragement that is like, oh, I want to do more of this, I get more of that back. So yeah, definitely good to have that set up.
Very important point. So, okay, I think we should start at the beginning of, why don't we have enough self-confidence? What's happened? What do we think to ourselves? What have we heard? What undermines, what cracks the foundation for us to stand in our greatness, our wholeness.
Right.
And
frankly, sorry, after you.
No, so much I think comes from our upbringing. We have no filter.
Exactly what was going to go.
Of course. Just go right ahead.
Well, I mean, in my work, a lot of talks about this because of my own understanding of this and my own journey, is that we are the result of our parents' physical creation and also verbal creation. So as we are educated at home, not so much schoolwork, so much how we live our lives with our parents, because we don't come in with a full vocabulary understanding and self-awareness that we wish we would come in with at the age of 0 from then on, we tend to take in what the world teaches us by what's around us, which is primarily our parents for the first few years. So unless your parents were your best cheerleaders in the world, which most parents weren't, just to be clear, if you did that, it's a very rare occurrence.
Yeah.
We tended to have feedback that was sometimes good and sometimes negative. And for most people, it was more criticism than compliment. So for most of us, our upbringing has trained us from a very early age to have the scales tip toward criticism more than to compliment, because that's what we were raised with. Mm-hmm. So as adults, we tend to reciprocate is the wrong word, to recycle that and to repeat that on and on and on. So in our relationships, oftentimes when we compliment each other, it can almost come across as false because we're not used to that being a natural state of affairs.
Yes.
So same thing in jobs, same thing when I know most of us, when we do something well and our feedback from social media or from our friends is, great job. When it goes, yeah, all right, sure. And then, or maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Oh, no. I know. That's what I tell people. I go, it's what I've experienced, and maybe you haven't, but I'm sure you've heard your friends, or you've read it in a book or seen it in a movie. Yes. And what I found for me, when I was in the worst throes of that, when I was growing up, was even when people would say nice things and I go, yeah, I just left it off. If somebody had something negative to say, I would put a spotlight on it. I would internalize it. I'd chew it over and go, yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. So it became even more ingrained. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that, and I know philosophically speaking or spiritually speaking, some of my teachers said that we live in a negative world. This world is designed in a way to be negative. So being positive is not a given. Now, there are people who believe in the Pollyanna approach, which is to be like positive and happy no matter what. And yeah, I talk about this for my work. It's like, you can be happy for no reason. And recognition is that life's going to keep throwing us opportunities to have equanimity about, put it that way, because it's like car accidents, someone you get a ticket on your car, or you get somebody takes the last bagel off the counter at work, or whatever it is, things happen where we just go, oh damn, and rather than go like what could have been better, because and just a little side note for this little story piece, I remember hearing this thing about you're going down the freeway and it's traffic, you can't get where you want to go. But when you get to where you're going, turns out that if you'd gotten there 5 minutes earlier, you would have been in a car accident. Yes. The stories about what happened on 9/11 at the Twin Towers, where people basically couldn't get to work that day because something happened with their kid or their pet. And if they hadn't been stuck at home and so upset about that, they wouldn't have made it. So recognizing that things that something happened to us that look negative can be gifts in disguise. I'm not saying everything is, but a lot of it is. So that whole negative, positive experience is really open to our own choice.
Yes, interpretation too. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
And initially, I don't expect anybody to be able to have that thought and make that switch immediately. And so we could talk about a step at this point, because I imagine I know you have steps after the fact.
Yeah.
Like the reflecting of 9/11 after the fact. Wow. Oh, I see the benefit of that. I see. So you gave lovely, easy examples, except for the 9/11. So
well, yeah,
the same example that my husband dies suddenly. I'm a widow, and who in their right mind would think there's any benefit? None. Zero. Right. Oh my gosh. I would, if I had the choice, of course I'd want him back. And, it was such a short marriage because of that. And we had all these future plans. And because I have learned how healthy it is and helpful for me after, which of course years to get to there, of what could there possibly be any upside benefit, as awful and horrible, because I'm so into these ands. So it's awful and horrible, doesn't discount that. And I have now these widowed people in my life that I can coach that I would never have understood where they live. I would have never understood their feelings. I would have never understood the journey they're on. And what I've been able to do to help them through a very different, unique journey, trying to go return to the dating world, different than I've had in my other, because I've been now coaching widowed people for about 4 years. Prior to that, I would have never even understood it. And I know the difference I've made. So because I can't change it, I can't not have my husband die. What keeps me upright truly as a human being is what is the other side of it that could be a benefit for me and the world. And it's been amazing benefits in spades. So how can you make the best out of an awful situation, or even just you didn't get the last bagel situation? You know,
Exactly. But I mean, the paradigm is wide.
Yes. And the result is still different. So if it's a minor thing like the bagel and you go, oh, well, I got to try a different bagel. I'd never tried that flavor before. Or the person who got that, it wasn't exactly that service that I'd had where I was wanting that. So they paid for my thing because they had gotten the last thing and they said, well, since you're getting a different thing, pay for it. It's that. So to look at what could be the other side of the coin.
And I mean,
so that just lifts you up automatically.
Yes. From my own experience, I was going to say, thankfully, I've not lost a lover or to that experience. But I remember vividly one of my relationships where the breakup was so painful, where she broke up with me, that it put me initially in a tailspin because I felt so hurt and wounded by it. But I heard what she said deeper than what she actually did. And that put me on the path I've been on for the last 14 years. Because I've been on this journey and to say, yes, it's like not an instant fix. I mean, I'm not saying I've been like this functional with this for years. I've been on this journey for over 30 years in terms of the personal growth work and understanding and really understanding the internal process we go through. But it was after that big breakup in the end of 2006 that put me on this path of understanding masculine and feminine polarity and the whole paradigm of relationships, which I've been teaching for the last 13 years. So the gift from that was putting me on this path. I mean, I wouldn't have written my book. I wouldn't have done my teaching. We wouldn't be doing the show with you if it hadn't been for that breakup. So you can never know at the time when something happens, is there going to be, I mean, you can say it's like, is there a pony in there or is there not? In that analogy.
Yeah. Is there a pony in all that pile of shit? Yes. Yeah. Love that. So if we go back to the parent part, because I think it's really important to address that, because I had hard parents. Everybody's had whatever, most people. I mean, it's been amazing. I really have met a couple of those people who had the best childhood, the best parents, whether the parents did internal work or their parents were really good at it. I was like, wow, there really are people like that. And it is rare. So with the challenges I had with my parents, I place to understand completely, they did the best they could with the tooling that both of my parents had to say, okay, I forgive them for the hard things. And here's the other and what do I do with that? So it's made me empathetic about the people that have had similar childhood challenges to mine and some places kind of around it that were similar. And to be a good example of this is what happens when you've done the work, because to do the work, well, now that I'm an adult, I see why I believed that as a kid. How can I get to a place where I don't believe this about me or about the world and about the world as an adult? What do I need to read? What do I need to therapy? Do I need to coach? Do I need to write to say, oh, well, there are other options. There are other ways to believe about me. There's other ways for me to know, oh, I'm not smart about the things that seem to be most important to them. And I'm really smart about these other things. I'm really good at other things that they couldn't recognize because of their limitations. And what a growth experience that's been, to stop being mad at them, to know they did their best. And I'm pretty hot shit with some of the shit I know. I mean, really, I am. I know a lot of stuff I know a lot about what I know about, and I love reading more about it. And the help that I've been to other people because that. And the best part about knowing the part I'm not good at is I'm like, oh, there's other people that like that. So they'll do that for me. Because I stopped trying to be what I wasn't, because that was the other thing happening. So of course I felt inadequate. Of course I felt not enough, because I would never be good at this other part. Like I probably have said this before, I'm the worst speller. My mom was the best speller. She did not pass that gene along to her 3 children. We are awful, just awful. We're the best phonetic spellers in the world. So I can't even look stuff up in dictionaries. It's very difficult for me because the dictionary doesn't spell like I do. It's really terrible. But my editor is the best speller. She is so good at spelling. So I can, and she doesn't care. I can send her the worst way of spelling. She gets what I'm trying to say, and she makes it all pretty. And I can stop feeling bad about it because what I have to say is really important, but she makes it in a way that people aren't going to go, well, that doesn't make any sense because it's not spelled right.
Actually, just a sidebar on that little point. I've had issues sometimes with a word I didn't know how to spell it because I was looking like I don't know how to look at the dictionary. A little trick I discovered because I have an iPhone is I ask Siri, it's like, what is the so and so? Like I'm saying, like what if I'm saying like Madagascar, for example, and say, tell me more about Madagascar, and it will spell it out for me on the screen, so I know what it's spelled like. Little trick.
I like that trick a lot.
Since you can spell phonetically, you can say it phonetically.
Yeah. Because the thing that I'll tell you, the word I ran into one day was, and I'll say it the way I say it, is prerogative. So I call my mom at work and she can't figure it out. And it's before we had so much electronic. So she ended up asking her boss, and he said, it's prerogative. That's why you can't find it, because I wasn't even saying. So that's really a problem if you're not even saying it.
Yeah. But smartphones are pretty smart. They figure what you're saying, so it's good.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Well, what my mom ended up getting me was, it's called an electronic dictionary, and you only have to get, this is way before all the electronic stuff we have now, and you had to get sort of close, and then it gave you all these suggestions. Because the weird thing about me is I can tell you that it's spelled wrong. I just can't tell you it's a weird, I don't know if this is called a talent. It's a very weird talent. It is, because I'm a great proofreader, because I can tell you that's wrong, but I can't tell you how to spell it the right. I know. It's one of the interesting, unique things about me.
We all have our interesting quirks and opportunities and things like that.
And I used to think it was a terrible thing. And I think that's what happens for us, because then we start beating ourselves up about, well, I don't know how to spell. And does that make me a bad person? Because sadly, that's where we go. That makes me bad.
Exactly.
We use that word too much when it's not appropriate. So because I couldn't spell well, I thought that made me a bad person. And that was so sad. So now it turns out I'm just a bad speller person.
It's one of your quirks.
A bad person. Yeah, it's one of my idiosyncrasies and quirks, yes. That I hope the way I present it, that people think it's just charming, because I have great attributes.
Exactly.
So I thought this would be kind of a fun subject, and it is, because the other thing I've learned is to have a sense of humor about things that we think aren't good enough. Okay. How can we have a sense of humor about it to lighten up a little? Because it's such a spiral. As soon as we start feeling badly, then we feel worse. And then we feel bad, and then we feel worse. So to go, well, isn't that a funny quirk? That's a really funny quirk. I wonder how many people have that quirk. You start going back up.
Right.
Yeah. So I think being able to laugh at yourself is very helpful.
Absolutely. And I mean, for a start, if nothing else, you entertain yourself. But beyond that, and it is this question about how do we get from that place of self-recrimination or even shame to move up the ladder. And so a lot of it sometimes is about getting some help, like we were talking about earlier, about, do you seek counsel, coaching, wherever that is, to really start to lay out what it is you've been doing in your life to, I don't want to say the word sabotage, but to undermine our ability to feel good. Because yes, having self-confidence in the world and in dating is a powerful skill to have, but it's not usually like a one-step process. And so, like, from my own journey, speaking of parents, I look back now, and when after speaking to a lot of clients and doing a lot of workshops, hearing from other people about sharing their upbringing, I look at my parental upbringing as a very good thing. I mean, frankly, I was raised in a very safe family. There was no abuse, no addictions, no divorces, no cheating, no abandonment, none of that stuff. The thing that was the negative in my family, which is not, compared to other people, it's not negative. My parents weren't very emotionally expressive. They were very stoic, staid, and reserved. So I didn't really know how to express that myself. I mean, again, I was, like, as we said, as kids, we're trained by our parents, not intentionally or consciously, but we pick up the same habits. So my ability to relate to people as an adult was very subdued until I started learning I could do something different. And so it is a pathway we follow to go from wherever we were limited by to where we want to go, is to be willing to explore. And I'm grateful that I've got a really some open listening to inner guidance, like spirit or that sort of voice, because I've had nudges before many times, and I go back to like the 80s when I had this serendipitous situation happen that started me on this whole path I've been on ever since, because of a really silly conversation with a friend of mine who basically said something that just went, I'm going to do that. And it wasn't something, I mean, an hour before I had no plan on it. Just something in the moment of conversation to open the door that got me to my first seminar, first workshop I took ever. That was back in December '84, and it sort of opened up this passion ever since. So I've been on this journey learning how we do give ourselves feedback, knowing how negative and positive feedback work, which we talked about before, how we use it as a constructive or destructive force. So part of that, building that self-confidence muscle, and as you said, it's about really seeing how the humor in things is recognizing when things happen that may not go the way we want, where we might not feel as successful as we want to because we had made a mistake or we had a problem, we like dented the car, or when you had that accident with the horse. You can look at that and go, oh my God, that's so terrible, I'm so bad, and blah, 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 really negative diatribe that goes on. Or you can go, okay, that's a lesson. That's an opportunity. What can I do with this that doesn't destroy me emotionally? Oh, take it easy next time. Listen next time, look where I'm going, or, it's a lesson. And this is time to, I'm going to take care of myself. Well, you were on that cast for a while, but like taking time to take care of yourself, what could be the positive outcome of what happened? Because maybe you were too busy beforehand, or whatever that was, or weren't focusing. So sometimes situations happen to us to give us the opportunity to look more closely at what we're doing or not doing. So rather than going, oh crap, that happened to me, it's like, okay, was that a clue? Was that a sign? Yeah. That thing I've had with the inner guidance has been a reminder many times where I just have this hunch or a gut feeling where I know that if I do this, it won't work. If I do that, it will work. And so I've learned to trust that more. And that is another way of building self-confidence, is having a much stronger relationship with that inner guidance inside. Mm-hmm. So
I love that. I mean, wow. So, and what you've explained is when we start out with the and it can be pretty far apart in the beginning of what's the other side of it. Right. And the goal for me personally and for you, and I think for our clients, is let's narrow the spans of time between, wow, that happened, feels awful, was hard, has all this negativity about it, real, true, not making light of any of that. And what am I going to learn from it? How am I going to be better? What's the benefit? What's the lesson? So that's what our goal is, to help people shorten the spans of time between when it happens and when we learn how to do the positive thought about it, learn the next step to get feeling hopeful and productive about it, that it doesn't feel like it's taking us down or out.
Right. Which I think would be a great thing to pick up on after the break. I think we need to go on a break right now.
We do. So we'll be right back. Well, that was a beautiful commercial.
Very holiday centric.
I know. And I loved the theme of it lasts a lifetime, because that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yes.
You learn how to do this, it will last forever. And the expansive, centering, grounding benefits to learning how to do this is extraordinary. I mean,
Absolutely.
I didn't realize how amazing it could be till I started learning how to do this. And then it's so fun to watch clients blossom into the knowing the good about themselves. It's just magnificent to watch. Don't you find something?
For me, that's one of the biggest gifts of the work I have with my clients, is to absolutely recognize that they see their own magnificence. Because that's what my work is a lot of times, is for my job is to hold the space to see that in my clients, even when they can't see it for themselves. And when they start to, like, it's like the training wheels come off, they start doing it on their own. And it's almost like being a proud parent with a kid on take the training wheels off the bike, and they ride on their own. It's like, so proud.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Look at, they're getting it.
Yeah,
exactly. They're really owning it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so just to speak to that for a little bit, is the biggest thing I've learned along the way is that, as I said earlier about how it's like, it isn't a quick fix. You can't go from like A to the end, from the beginning to the end in one quick step. So it's recognizing that's like slow and steady wins the race, having willingness to have progress, to do incremental improvements, because you discover pretty quickly that you're moving faster than you thought, because what you're doing is you're making these steps like permanent and not just rush to the end and then fall down again. So you're actually creating a foundation, and then you're building like one brick on top of the other that's solid, locked in place, and increasing your own self-esteem. Because the challenge is, again, as we live in a world that is negatively focused, it's always making like, what's wrong with you? I mean, if you watch any TV commercial, it's always teaching what you don't have so you can know what they are selling you. That's not a positive experience.
No.
So recognize that when you are okay as you are, you don't need anything else or anybody else to be okay.
Yeah.
This switches into the codependency piece. I don't want to go too far in that part. That's a whole 2-hour conversation right there.
For sure.
But recognizing that who we are is all right, is okay, is whole as we are. One of the things I'm grateful for is when somebody says something negative to me, I don't crumble under their words, because the worst feeling in the world is when you don't have the self-awareness, and also not like going like, you're wrong, and like blocking it out like that wall I talked about earlier. It's about recognizing what they're saying. And this is one of the biggest secrets, by the way. When someone says something negative to you, 90% of the time, it's a self-description they're giving you. And when you start recognizing when someone's being negative or being upset, like when you're in the parking lot, someone's arguing and fighting with you for a parking spot, that's their anger, their upset. Hang on. It's not you causing it. They're using you as a external projectile target for their upset.
Yeah.
But when you start recognizing it's not you, it's them, you don't need to carry it. And then one of the biggest things for me for self-confidence was recognizing that all that stuff I'm carrying from myself isn't mine. It's other people's. So I'm like, here, you can take it back, and you can take it back, and you can take it back. Not literally, because they wouldn't understand. But energetically, just giving it back and taking off the shackles we put on ourselves. And this reminds me of you. There's one of my favorite authors is Richard Bach, who wrote Illusions, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. One of his books, which I'm not sure if it was one or if it was Bridge Across Forever. It's one of those two books, I believe. He talks about how he had to do a whole bunch of journey of healing with his inner child. He talks about, this is many years ago, so I'm hoping to get this part right. But he talks about how he went to, when he's doing the child work in his imagination, he would imagine visiting his inner child. It was like in my memory was it's under a tree somewhere, but the kid was in a prison cell, and he'd go and visit him every time, like every day, doing this process. And after a while, he realized that the key was on the inside. And the metaphors, it was huge. I mean, one of the favorite things in this book was teaching about metaphors in his teachings. And he said about the fact is that really it was the kid's choice to let himself out of jail. And that's what we all have that opportunity to do. As much as our parents may have been negative or berating or abusive, whatever it was, I'm not trying to excuse them by saying it's all them, not you. But the recognition is you don't have to carry it. The prison cell you put yourself in of punishment, of self-recrimination, of feeling like, you were a victim because you deserved it, all that stuff. That's the key you have in your hand to unlock the door and walk free. But it takes sometimes a lot of courage and support from somebody who gets you to get out of that jail cell.
You need somebody that can, as you said, hold the belief for them, that you know this, you know it in such a knowing, and you just hold that for them until they can get to the same knowing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that book. I think it was one.
Yeah.
Conversely, yes, a lot of times it is them. And if we have a huge reaction to it, it might
Yeah.
with us.
That's the next level.
Oh, maybe that does have something to do with me because I'm having a big reaction to this. Yeah. Like when I was growing up, made fun of my spelling, I already thought I was a terrible speller. So it was a very tender place in me and I would fall apart. I would just fall apart and say, well, see, I am a bad person. And oh, I have no value. And oh, I'm so stupid. I mean, I would do all that stuff that we do to ourselves over some maybe mean comment or maybe just off the cuff comment. It wouldn't even matter how strong it was or their intention. It would still cut me to my core because it was already this depleted place inside of it. Yeah.
It's like having a resonant frequency, like a tuning fork with a glass. It shatters because of the fact it's on a resonant frequency, and so it feels that way. Definitely,
it does. It can be completely devastating. So I think what would be really important to do is to give some of the techniques, offer a couple of the techniques that we do. I mean, we have lots so that we could never fit into this, which is why our coaching programs are some time that we spend with our clients. But I'd love to share, a couple of things that we do.
Certainly.
Give people a couple of tools that they'll go, oh, I never thought, because that's what I get. I never thought about it that way, or I never tried that, or I never looked at it that way. Yeah. So would you like to go first?
Sure. I mean, one of the simplest things I'll start with, and this is one of the things I see my clients is doing mirror work, and I do a lot of self-love practice with that too, is to really take the time, not necessarily after something happens to you, but ideally beginning of the day when you're fresh and clear, when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, just looking in the mirror in your own eyes, and just encourage yourself. Just to say, you're okay, you're whole, you're magnificent, you're loving, you're all these different things. You can say that to yourself or say, I am these things. Either way, because the one in the mirror is you and the one is, yourself here. So you play either way. And it may sound hokey and silly at the time, but if you do that every day for a month, it will change your paradigm completely. So that's a simple one you can do anytime.
Yes. Well, and I have something that's really similar with a little bit of a twist. So both men and women I've given this to. Women will think it fits more them, but it's interesting how this fits men as well. Pick the thing physically about you that you really like. Something. Your eyes, your mouth, your smile, your elbow. I mean, I've had people pick really interesting parts of their body. The thing that people notice right away, that there's nothing you would change about it, that you get compliments, and it's that's a really solid place in you. And the 2 times a day that you're brushing your teeth, that you're looking in the mirror, you say, I love my smile. People really like my smile. It's really engaging. People say things nice, and for 30 seconds, you say these nice things. And I'm fine. You don't have to believe it. You can even say it with kind of a snot. Oh, my foot. I don't even know if I believe it, but you have to keep saying it. This is the goal. For 30 seconds, twice a day, every day. And what's been so fun is they don't always own how they're feeling different, but what they tell me after even just a week, and certainly after 2 or 3 weeks, people in my life are saying, did you lose weight? Did you change your hairdo? And they've done nothing except these compliments twice a day in the mirror. What a difference it has made in that exuding part of self-confidence. Because we've all known somebody that we just go, wow, look how, I mean, who knows if they are, but look how confident they seem. Look how confident they walk. Look how confidently they speak about their subject. I've had, I'm sure you do too, that people say, gosh, you know so much about relationship. Well, I've talked about it a lot and I've studied a lot. So I feel very confident. I know that I have always more to learn, but I feel solid about this. People, it'd be hard. I'd be like the oak. You could knock me over about this. So there's other things that maybe not quite as much. This knowing that people get from your mind listens. It's always been listening to all this negative shit that you've given it. And now It's going to listen to these positive things that Barry says, look in the mirror and tell yourself how fabulous you are, which I love. And have you give compliments to just this one area of your body. It will absolutely guaranteed. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to do anything except do it.
Right.
And try it for a week and see if you feel different, if you get treated differently. It's amazing. It's such a fun, immediate thing to get people to do. Because as you said, what happens is you have a success. You're like, look at what these people are saying about me. Oh, okay, maybe I'll do the next harder thing that Christine and Barry are because that worked. Maybe I will. I could look at something else that seems a little deeper, a little more challenging, because wow, they might actually know what they're talking about. And look at the benefit it's been to my life. I think we might consider doing this for a living.
It's true.
Isn't it the best when we can help people with this really important area of their life? Because I don't think I did talk about this, that I had this woman interview me recently, and she said, I'm just going to ask you a question off the cuff when I interview. I go, okay. How do you feel like you're making a difference in the world? And so I said, because I help people feel better about themselves as a person, as a woman, as a man, as a father, as a mother, as a coworker, it just expands out to how good they're feeling, which in turn helps them treat other people differently. And those people treat people differently. So I said, I am this little pebble in this still pond, and all these concentric circles go zipping out to places I'm not going to talk to them. I'll never meet these other people. And I feel like it gratefully has these long range, making people feel more loving, more grounded, more positive, more energized, more willing to give other people grace. If we're not feeling bad about ourselves, we'll feel, well, they're just having a bad day, or, well, that was kind of a hurtful thing to say, but I'm sure they didn't really mean it about me, because that's so not me. That if we can have that kind of foundation under, or even to say, oh gosh, I never thought about it that way. That might have something to do with me. That if we have this foundation, I just think it makes the world around our world, and then the world around us, more positive.
Yeah. But one other thing I'll take from that piece is about giving you feedback.
Yeah, please.
Is that, again, we get feedback that's positive and we get feedback that's negative. And the truth is, when we get positive feedback, it's kind of easy to go, great, wonderful, I'll take that on. Or we go, oh, you don't even know me. You wouldn't say that. So we can take it either way. Negative, the same thing. Negative feedback can be, oh no, it's so bad. Or it can be like, what can I use that for? One of the things I've learned and this is something I learned from a long time ago, which I've remembered more than once because I'm going to forget it too, is understanding how to separate the energy from the communication.
Wow, yeah.
So when somebody says something like, you cut me up in traffic, you should have done this and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so they're upset about something. It might not even be about this. It may be because they're late for work, or maybe because they had an argument with their spouse at home. And I did something where maybe I didn't do the right thing and I blocked the traffic. So I'm like, I'm sorry I got in your way, go right ahead, or whatever that is. Now, they may not be satisfied with your response, but you can be satisfied with that response.
Yes.
And so recognizing that if there's value in the feedback you're getting, then take the information from it and use it. But you don't need to take the baggage with the emotion that's being thrown along with it, because 9 times out of 10, that emotion is they're upset about something else. They laid on top of the communication.
Very good point. Very good point. And also, there's that little balance between arrogance. Well, that can't be me. Right? Right? Yeah. That's the false bravado.
Yeah.
We're not talking about it all. That's often a camouflage for hurt.
Yeah. In fact, I would say, let's go as far as self-confidence is based on a lot of selfish things like self-support, self-trust, self-honoring, self-respect. All these different pieces fit underneath it. And we've talked about this before, and I've done so many Facebook Lives about these different pieces, because recognizing that we're all works in progress. And our power comes from saying yes to the next step, to the next level, to recognize that we're not done. Resting on your laurels on your emotional journey is a pointless task because there's no end to this.
No.
So being willing to go, oh, I can do that better. I can play with this. I can refine it as a positive step, not a, oh, crap, I got to do more. It's like, no, I get to do more.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and that is such an important point, because in the beginning, it feels overwhelming and, oh my God, how would I ever get there? That if you do break it down into smaller steps, you can look very excited and positive about the next step. Wow, that was good. I want more, rather than, oh my God, that was too hard. And why would anybody ever want to do that again or any more again?
Right.
And I think the other really important piece that we don't always do is stop and recognize how far we've come. It's good to strive. It's good to look at goals. And I want all of us to do that. And I also want you to go, look where I was a week ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. Look how I've grown. Look what I've gotten past. Look at what I've accomplished emotionally, physically, mentally, professionally, personally, because there has to be a balance with that, or we just get exhausted. All we're doing is striving. And I think one of the things that's been a weird adjustment for people during this shutdown time is adding that piece in, because they're like, where am I striving? I can't do the same striving before. There's not the same physical means of me to do this accomplished thing. So how am I going to redo it, re-look at it, revamp, and now look back and go, look what I survived. Holy crap. Holy crap. I'm still upright. I had to hold my kids. I had to learn how to do Zoom. Oh my God. You know, I had to figure out how to date using virtual instead of meeting in person. And to really give yourself permission to take credit for it. So there's another positive side to this crappy time that we've been living in, which I'm not making light of at all, because there's a lot of crap about it. And where could be some positive sides about that in our lives, especially about dating, because, single, solo people, everybody's had their thing. But since that's so much of our concentration is people that not in a relationship would like to be in one, it came to a screeching halt. And how in the heck are they going to still feel vital and alive and desirable and proactive about this area of their life? It's been really hard on them.
I think for a lot of people, this isolation experience has been a challenge because, and actually for me, there's been a benefit in this. From my own experience, I know that there's a lot of this thing, like we're locked down, we can't go anywhere. It's like, he's like, we're going to go stir crazy. We don't know what to do with ourselves, or we got so much to take care of, we can't do it, or we don't know what to do with it. The thing that I've become aware of for myself is, and I know a lot of people do the same thing. First of all, I got the idea of, like, as you know from watching my Facebook stuff, been baking a lot more bread now. It's like I never baked bread in my life until the start of the lockdown. So one of the side effects was I've learned how to bake.
Beautiful bread. It's beautiful bread.
Thank you. And it tastes pretty good, and it sustains me, and I like it. It's my breakfast go-to.
You need to do smell-o-vision, though, because I know it must smell really good, and I'm so frustrated that I can't smell it.
You can get close to it yourself. But the thing about it is that, as I think that's the joke, they call it it's the COVID-15 or the lockdown 15. It's the people put on 15 pounds in lockdown because they don't do anything. Mm-hmm. And so pretty quickly I realized that I need to do something because I'm starting to eat more bread because I'm making my own bread. So I started exercising. But what that led to, and it's interesting because, again, this is not an immediate thing, but it's a progression of learning, is I started committing to getting out of the house and going for a walk. Initially, right at the beginning, when we completely locked down, couldn't do anything, just walked around the neighborhood. That's all I started doing. Then I thought, well, starting to get more freedom to move around a little bit. I was like, I'll get my bike out and start riding places. And now I've got a commitment. I go out and I'm pretty much out for about an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, every single day. I'm not broken at once. Going out for exercise. Not like I'm trying to be like fanatical, but it's a good change of state for me to be out away from my computer and clearing my head. But having now recently invested in an Apple Watch, it's an incredible positive reinforcement tool. Uh-huh. So it keeps track of my steps and it keeps track of my workouts and it provides. It's the way they built the app's amazing. These monthly goals, which are not that hard to achieve, and so it's a positive reinforcement device. And so recognizing that we can do that ourselves at home. So I mean, even at times now I've got like some body weight material, training exercise I can do. That even though I can't go to a gym and I can't get depressed about that, I can take care of myself in my own home, and I can chalk it up as a win every single time. And so part of what I think about self-confidence is to do things that honor you and support you. And even in the confines of this lockdown, there are things you can do, whether it is, I mean, I don't know, I don't know what you call it, but whether it's, getting a Peloton or some other expensive device. You don't have to do that, but something that keeps you fit. Or it's learning a new skill at home that you can do because you've got time on your hands. Maybe it's a new baking skill or a computer skill or something else. Maybe a friend of mine, she took up crocheting. She'd never done it before.
Wow.
Now she's got scarves and sweaters and hats and everyone knows she's made in the last 6 months, you know. But it's not about like, you know, idle hands. It's more about think what you can do with your time that restores your own self-esteem, your own self-support, because self-confidence is linked to your own self-esteem and self-support. So doing little things that raise your own self-perspective or self-perception will automatically support your self-confidence.
So imperative, so valuable. Please listen to that. Anybody that's listening to this. Yes. And that's been really fun because I do this meetup virtually for people over 50 in Orange County every Monday. I've been doing it now for 5 months. And it's one of the things we talk about is, what did you like to do before when you could just go do anything? And what have you figured out to do now?
Yeah.
And because we're in a group of often 20 people, it's ideas like, I never thought of that. Oh, I could try that. Where, you know, it's the group thing that's very helpful to come up with suggestions of something that might fit you that you hadn't thought of before. Or there's been a couple people that are taking Zoom classes together so they're an accountability partner because they're not always as committed as you are to do this every day. So they're like, okay, I know one of us is going to be in the mood and we're going to make sure one of us is making sure the other one's doing the Zoom class. And there's another one that she knew how to bake. So she's taught a couple of they've gotten on Zoom and she's taught them how to bake. And so not only are they doing stuff for themselves, but they're getting into little groups again because they were missing that because they couldn't go out to the groups. And so how fun for the person that gets to teach. So you get to have self-confidence about that. Wow, look at, I know this more than they do. So I get to teach them. And then the people learn and go, wow, look what I've learned that I never even knew before. So other little ways that are fun. So you don't even realize that it's increasing your self-confidence, and it absolutely will.
Yeah. One of the things about the modern dating in this current time, I'm talking about that, is because a lot of times we're meeting through video, it's important to present yourself as you really are. And so people like to think they can act on camera, like they can go, oh, I'm going to dress up and look smart and do the whole posture thing. But by the end of if you're on the Zoom for a while, you notice it's like a slump a bit because it's not natural. So it is about restoring those little things that we're talking about here, yours and mine as well, are little bricks in the wall you're building of support for yourself or the bridge you're supporting yourself. So when you're on Zoom with somebody, a possible date or a romantic connection, they can feel that in you. Even on a Zoom screen, the little window on the screen that you're looking at, you can tell a lot about who somebody is behind that image because they're not just a picture, they're a video and they're moving, and you can tell, are they authentic or not? Are they feeling real? Are they feeling depressed? Are they acting critical? You know, you can learn a lot from people that way. So why not fill up your own fuel tank so when you're on camera with somebody, it's not such a scary thing.
Yeah. So
there's lots of ways we can play with this.
And one of the benefits too about that is you're sitting in your own home. Automatically, even though you're excited, it's a new person and you're just going to get to know each other, there's an element of comfort, a layer of comfort over the top of that because you're sitting here, you're not in a restaurant, you're not in a strange environment, that you feel really safe and comfortable. So the other thing, it's going to make you even more authentic.
Yeah.
I think it will lend to the slumping and the laughing at yourself, and that you're going to have a chance to be a little more real. And isn't that what we want when we're getting to know another person? We want to feel like we can be real, and we want to think that we can see them being real.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that also, I think, helps with self-confidence. If you can be real and they seem okay with that. Really important.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Cece's telling us we have to end again.
Oh, no.
I know, hands are forehead, because we always are just going, and we have so much more to talk about. But
yeah,
back next week. So if you'd like to talk about, if you're feeling like you're not having enough self-confidence in your life, it's getting in your way, because it really will get in your way. You can reach out to either one of us. And the way to get a hold of me is you can go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. And if you click on what's holding you back from love at the top, you can have a complimentary conversation with me, and we'll delve into what has been holding you back from love, because a lack of self-confidence will definitely get in the way. You could send me an email through Christine@theperfectcouch.com and find me on social media at Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Instagram and all those places. And
so many places.
So many places. We're just like all over the map, you and I. So please tell people how they can reach you.
Certainly. Mine's a little easier because I don't have a fancy name for my website. actually, I do, but actually, to be transparent, my old site name is still there, which is called The Love Confidant, which is my old branding.
Oh,
Yes. But if you go to barryselby.com, it forwards to that, so it's easy to find me. So my website is barryselby.com. If you go on that page on the website, the homepage, there's a video series you can sign up for a free gift, and you can join my email list. All my products are up there too, but also on the top left-hand side of the navigation is a Let's Chat button. You can click on there to get a conversation with me, and we can talk about your self-esteem issues and challenges that you want to work through and get back to being a whole, happy, healthy person to attract the love you really want. I'm also, my name on social media is my name. Instagram is The Real Barry Selby, and then on Facebook it's best to go to my business page, which is Barry Selby the author. But everywhere else, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, is all Barry Selby. So you can find me that way. And you can drop an email to me at barryselby.com. Easy.
Easy. We like making it easy.
Absolutely.
Some of the other things in life are hard, and we want to make it easy.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, it's a delight always.
Indeed.
Dating with you, and how to make dating easier in this can be challenging world, especially for solo people. It is challenging for singles. So until next week.
Same time, same channel.
Same bat time, same bat channel.